I made these 4 prints by printing a skull with Play-Doh and combining it with some feathers and other stuff. You want to see the process? Stay tuned. Hello lovers of the jelly arts. Today I want to print a skull. How can you print a skull? You might ask. That's what I was asking myself when I glanced at my skull collection the last time. Thanks to Created and Made channel, hello Shauna, I was introduced to the Play-Doh technique. The most important thing was to protect my skulls from the paint. And also it seems impossible to print a skull directly because you cannot get in the shapes that lie deeper in the skull. As to not even transfer even the slightest bit of the dough color to the skull, I wanted to order white Play-Doh, but they did not have it exclusively in white, at least not in Germany. So I ordered this other dough in white, Soft-Dough. It is a bit less greasy, and I have the impression that it is not as fine, but we'll see if it works at all. Oh, I think you can print the lid as well. So first, I made a relatively thick surface of the dough to stick the skull into. If you want to try this, I'd say now, make it thicker than I did here, because it will later give me some trouble printing just by falling apart. First I tried a fox's skull. But as I expected, the gap between the cheekbone and the back parts of the skull was too large and the Play-Doh ripped apart. Maybe I'll also try the fox later with a thicker Play-Doh mass. So I decided to try the goat skull. Well, at least I think it's a goat. This one is more compact than the fox and works better for this project. I take care that important delicate parts make a good impression, and I also have to decide where to create a rim around it because there is no abrupt ending to the skull like with the teeth. It also tore at the same place, but this one's easier to fix by molding the stuff. Now I have to cut it out, and I do that with a palette knife looking at the original skull while I'm doing this. Be sure to do this on a non-sticking surface like I used the plexi sheet here. I am sharpening the horn a little bit. Can you say horn here, or is this already an antler? Carefully avoiding to touch the inside of the horn, as I can see some typical horn structures there. You see here that I am leaving a rim outside the teeth to make them more clearly. I also do that on all the other outlines of the skull. You'll see that that was a good decision. Trying to even out the surface a little bit, but unfortunately here I am pressing too much on the horn again so that it loses its typical horn shape here. This is so funny. I have spoons in skull shapes. They are completely useless because everything fluid you pick up will escape the spoon again through the skull's eyes and nose. But now I can use them for shaping Play-Doh. Now for the printing. I roll out some golden open acrylics in black on the Gelli plate. I'll say again, although they are somewhat expensive, I love them because they stay wet on the Gelli plate for a long time. But you can use any other acrylics here too. I press the Play-Doh shape into the paint, using the plexi sheet for the overall pressure, and then press with my fingers to make sure the delicate structures of the teeth and bones make a good impression too. Taking off the pieces, and you can see right away it made a good impression. The shape I will later print directly too. I am wiping away excess paint with baby wipes, and for the finer parts I use cotton swabs. I am printing on Fabriano's sketch paper today. It has only 90 GSM, but it is fine for these prints. It takes a lot of detail because the surface is very smooth. The golden open paint has obviously dried faster than usually, probably because the paint layer was very thin. Crazy situation. The outlines have transferred to the paper, but all of the inside still remains on the plate. To save the print, I use the following trick. Make sure your paper doesn't shift on the plate, hold it tightly and tape one side on the plate. Then roll on some binder or medium or transparent gesso on the motif. Let it sink in for a few minutes, rub it, and then you will find it all sticks to the paper now. At least most times this works. This is the intermediate result, and I am quite happy with how it turned out. When I print the Play-Doh form directly, it turns out surprisingly different, as you'll see now. Rolling the paint directly onto the form. It is again the golden open black paint. Pressing the printing paper on it carefully as to not move the paper. Great print, but I have the impression that the horn looks like an ear, and if you see that, you cannot unsee it again. So I work a little on that horn again. So these two skull prints I will print on further. I want to add a shape to it that I saw my favorite artist using. You probably know him well if you follow me, it's Mark Yates. And that idea was so great, I use it all the time now. But Mark, you'll see that I have a little different twist here. So I am pressing on the unfolded package of a paint brand and taking the excess paint off with phone book pages. I am actually surprised that there are still printed phone books out there. This is the color that so many artists love, the Quinacridone Nickelazo Gold. A tip for all the grieving fans of this color tone that is not produced anymore. You can still get it in the Golden Open product line. And no, I am not getting any money or materials for this. The color is very transparent, which is great as it doesn't cover any parts of the skull image. It turned out exactly as I planned. But I still want to add something else, an ostrich feather. I am now working with etching ink. I have just received my new Akua colors. That was the etching ink that is soy-based, and therefore as easy to clean as the acrylics. It also answers the question if acrylics and etching inks work together. They do. It takes a little longer to roll it out evenly, and it is very transparent too, which turns out to be not so good for what I want to do here. You shut up now. I'm recording. The phone book page I used for taking off excess paint is also a nice collage piece for some other artwork. Turning the Gelli plate around to place the feather image exactly where I want it. But the outcome is way too faint for my liking. So I try printing the feather again, adding some black Akua, and again, still don't like it, and in the end I press the feather on directly. And there it is. That was a struggle. The second print is going a little smoother. For the skull frame, I take the same unfolded box and the same color. On the left side though, I'm adding some transparent brown iron oxide, also a golden open color. The print is like I wanted it, not covering the skull but only parts of it. On the blank part of the page I want to print that feather again. For that I am also using the transparent brown color. It is transparent but also darker than the purple I used for the last print, so the feather should be visible better. And yes, the print is something I can work with. Sorry, failed to film the rolling out of the Akua paint here, using the purple and quite some Akua black as well. Starting a new print with the skull form, although it has suffered a bit now already. Note how the plastic sheet touches the plate without me noticing. It is making its own coincidental imprint by taking off some of the Akua ink. Wow, that looks exciting to me, as the dough form, which I inked up in black too, prints on black and at the same time takes off some of the purple color. When I look at the print, I can almost not believe how interesting this one turned out. This is something you cannot plan and certainly not repeat with the same result. Those very happy accidents are something I absolutely love about jelly printing. Now for another print, I want to pick up the ghost image with the Akua, testing if the Akua intaglio etching ink also works as a pickup color. And it does, although the image is a little too faint and needs more developing later. The patterns that the rolling out of the pickup color left, I did on purpose, not fully rolling out the paint on the gel plate. Now comes the working out of these 4 prints. This one needs a little work on the feather with a brown pencil. That is possible as the thin golden layer has dried on the paper quickly. That annoying ear-shaped horn needs a little adjustment. Not too happy with it, but naja, as we Germans say. Oh look, there's my fingerprint again. That's my signature here already. And this is what I meant by the different twist for Mark's idea. Using the outside of the box, it also printed the brand Pebeo on it, which I discovered only now that I'm working this out. This came as a funny surprise. Love that print. Next, I'll add something to this print, but it sure doesn't need much developing. Just some shadows, very subtle in black, and some enhancing of the traces that the brayer left. The eyes are always very important. Actually, I don't know where these 2 shapes come from. Maybe the edge of a brayer. Wonderful. Maybe this one is the best of these prints. Tell me what you think. Which one do you like the best? This one also has the traces of the brayer. And to enhance that, I use a little black and a little red later. And I take on the pattern inside the skull as well. That makes this one very interesting, I think. With the red pencil, actually this is an almost purple red. I'm enhancing a bit of the structures of the feather. And you see those eggs here? That's really interesting. How symbolic. The symbol for death with the skull, and then the feathers and the two eggs. New life beginning. Isn't that amazing? I don't know where these eggs even came from. Probably just a drop of paint that I rolled out with a brayer. The area of the feather is still sticky after one day, because I used a lot of layers here to get what I wanted, to get the darkness I wanted. And it's just not possible to draw on it. Maybe it will be in a couple of weeks or so, but actually that doesn't need so much work anymore. So also here I am just adding something to the box. It doesn't say the brand this time, so that doesn't always work. So here's the rehab. I mean, recap. Rehab is not possible with this goat anymore. I'm so cynical sometimes. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. Well, I had a lot of fun with this session. Tell me how you liked it. I hope you had fun too. And see you next week.